Today I'm going to show you how to attach the backhoe to the tractor. In this case, I'm going to show it on the large frame 2R, 2032R, 2038R tractors. I'll show you how it works when everything's perfect, like the manufacturer videos might show you. Then I'm going to show you how it really works when everything's not quite so perfect. I'm also going to give you some tips on how to work around those well, not so perfect situations. I'm also going to show you a kit that I personally put together with the help of a partner to resolve one of these difficult issues when making this connection. It was really hard for me when I first got this tractor and this backhoe, and then I got in a bind a couple of times, so I'm going to help you out. Let's get started. I intended to show you this project years ago. When I first got this tractor and backhoe, I said, well, first thing I want to do is show people how it connects, how I can get it hooked up and unhooked. I didn't have such good success with it myself. It was clear that I didn't understand the tricks. When it worked well. When it didn't work, I really struggled with it. So I decided to defer the installation until I fully understood and felt like I grasped some of the tricks and some of the challenges that I faced when I was hooking it up. Well, I think I've got it now, and I think I can make it simple for you, and that's what we're going to do. We're in the situation here where the manufacturer would show it. If they unhooked it and then hooked it right back up, they'd say, look how easy it is. Well, that's how it's positioned right here. Well, how do we know that? We know that by seeing this frame piece right down here at my toe is flat on the ground. All the way back and forth there, it is flat on the ground. As long as that's flat on the ground, everything is going to go well. So let's show that. And yeah, we will show it when it's not flat on the ground in a minute. This piece right here goes between your lift arms. You cannot have a quick hitch, a 3-point quick hitch, or Pat's Easy Change, any of those type devices on your 3-point hitch when you use the backhoe. You'll notice that with the large frame 2R, you leave the lift links on rather than removing them entirely like you do on all other subcompact tractors. And that makes things a lot easier, at least for me. You do remove the top link. Okay, so the top link's got to be removed. We put that piece right in there. It's welded solid. Mine was on one side, and on the other side it was only tacked in 2 places. Now, it'd be interesting to hear some feedback from you guys if yours was welded solid on both sides. But mine broke loose like the first time I used it. So I have one side that swings freely, and the other side is welded solid. Quite frankly, that's fine. It doesn't actually need to be welded for what we're using it for. Here we go. Now I'm going to back up the tractor here, but the first thing I have to do is lower this 3-point down. And as I back up, I will watch this even closer. It goes right in here, and there's a slot that pipe needs to go in right there. And then it turns upward. We have to get that pipe all the way back up there so that we can get in that notch that turns upward. And now we'll raise. That pipe goes right into the slot. The backhoe proceeds to come up. Now watch right here, Christy. Right. See that hole and the matching hole up here?
Yeah.
And as I raise it, those holes will come together. Now, right now you can hear the stress on the hydraulic system where it's in relief. That's where I'm trying to pick it up more than it can actually be picked up. So I'm going to push the 3-point position control down just a little bit until that clicks off. When we get that picked all the way up, these pins just go right in. Now that little pin goes down there into this safety latch. That'll keep it from coming out. And we do the same on this other side. If the pin doesn't fit in there, like that one doesn't perfect, we can raise it up again just to make sure. If it doesn't fit perfectly, just kind of keep working it. Either work the 3-point hitch upward and let off of it again a time or two, or maybe just grab the hydraulic cylinder here on the outrigger and kind of yank it a little bit. I've not had too much trouble with that in the past. It was a little bit off this time. I'm not sure why, but I typically don't have any issue with that. You've heard us talk a lot about Power Beyond on this channel, especially recently. Well, that's what we've got right here. This is the P side, and this hose is the return. So that completes the hydraulic loop in the tractor. It's a direct connection here. There's no power being put beyond at this point. Well, that's what we have to change. In order to make the backhoe work, we'll have to connect in these two hoses into the loop. There's a third port in this case called T. So that's a direct return to the tank. The effect here is that it disables the 3-point hitch. They don't want the 3-point hitch enabled while the backhoe is enabled. First of all, we'll disconnect the loop here. And this return hose is not going to be used. There's a nice little place to store it there. This line goes to the pressure side. It even says P. But it's really much easier than that. You don't have to look for the P because it's the one with the appropriate gender to connect there. And this one goes to the T. Okay, we are fully connected at this point. I'm going to let the 3-point hitch position control down just to take that pressure off. The backhoe is fully functional at this time, so let's fire up the machine and pull the outriggers up and get it ready for transport. That's all there is to it. Took maybe a minute, maybe two, probably 5 or 6 with me discussing it with you. So you can see that it's not difficult at all. So let's reverse the steps. The instructions are listed here. Personally, I don't think they're in perfect order, at least for the way my mind works, but they're close enough. So you can use that as a reference, but I'm gonna kind of ignore that and show you how it works mentally for me, and we can work from there. Mine won't be different than that. It just may reorder a couple of the steps. We'll see how it goes. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put these outriggers horizontal. I don't want them touching the ground. I just want them horizontal. Okay, next step is I need to pull this pin here that allows the boom to go down, and I need to push this out. What they suggest is that you have your bucket, the bottom of the bucket flat with the ground, okay? And that you have this portion of the boom straight up and down, okay? So something like that. What I have found is you don't want it on the ground at this point, but you do want it close to the ground. So I'm what? 3 inches, it's a composite toe boot. Don't worry, I'm not gonna crush my toe. I'm about what, 3 inches there. At this point, the backhoe is positioned how we want it. We have to do those hydraulic connections in reverse. I'm not usually a stickler about turning the tractor off when you're messing with hydraulics, the regular rear SCVs. With the Power Beyond though, when you disconnect that, you do need to turn the tractor off. Now the good thing is there won't be pressure on any of the Power Beyond lines, so you should be in good shape there. But if you do disconnect while it's running, you will generate pressure. So make sure it's off for that. We're gonna disconnect the backhoe. In theory, we're finished with the backhoe hydraulics. We may show you in the everything's not perfect scenario why we may need to hook up the backhoe hydraulics again. But in theory, we're finished with it. So we unhook them. We connect this return line right back up here again. And the reason we can make that connection again, well, first of all, you have to complete the loop, but the other aspect is to re-enable the 3-point hitch, because our next step now is to pick up the backhoe, remove the weight from these pins so we can take these pins out. Here we go. So I pull it up, and you'll see that the 3-point hitch picks it up, and again, I can let off the pressure relief right there. Pull both the pins out. And here we go. I'm going to let it down. If everything's perfect, you'll see the front of it come down essentially first. That rear bucket will hit the ground, and then the front will come down. That's why the bucket has to be off the ground but close to the ground. So here we go. And if the bucket's too close to the ground, either it won't go down at all, or when it goes down, this seat might hit the PTO shield. So here we are. And I believe everything is detached. I'm ready to drive up. Make sure your 3-point hitch comes out of there gracefully, and then you can begin to raise it up once it comes out. And now we're all done. Again, we did a good job of detaching because that subframe is sitting flat on the ground. Easy, right? That's what I thought when I saw the TV stars doing it on the John Deere manufacturer's site and live in person at the Farm Progress show. But it's not always that easy. Let me show you. So I got my new backhoe, decided to take it off, set it aside, and I did so, and it was out here by the trees somewhere. Didn't really pay much attention to it, and a few weeks later I needed to hook it on, and yeah, this is what it looked like. Now, the technical term for this backhoe is, I say it's in a funk. So this is the backhoe in a funk scenario. Yeah, I know. Not exactly sure how that's spelled. I think it's F-U-N-K. But anyway, I had seen something like this with the 1025R backhoe, the 260, 260B, and it never really bothered me. In fact, this kind of is the angle that the 260B stores nicely. So when I kind of saw it getting angled like that, it didn't really concern me. But that was because I didn't understand, some of the details of the hookup. In order to get this thing hooked on, this has to be back on the ground. I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I could get up here and maybe get it back down, right? Even now, I don't have it on the ground, right? And not only that, as soon as I let off, it's gonna go awry. So I thought about it a little bit. Here was my first solution. No, not that. That's right, I pushed it down with the loader and then found something to put under the dipper stick here.
Looks like a lot of work to me.
Not only is it a lot of work, it's frustrating because you're already embarrassed about not doing this right, or else you're frustrated because it didn't work like it did on the movies. And I don't know for sure if that's even going to be enough, nor if I can get another one under there. So that's how I did it. Just propped it up back here. And now I've got to let off with the bucket, and we'll see if that subframe stays down enough that I can back over it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but there's not a lot of clearance under there, so it can't come up over maybe a couple of inches, or else we won't be able to back over it. Okay, that worked. And it seemed easy because I'd already thought through how to do this, and I've done that probably a dozen times. Turns out there's something to help us with that. Let me show you that now. Yeah, some of you have probably already left your comments. You can go ahead and delete them now about this particular topic. The manufacturer has provided something to help with this. I was too oblivious, I guess, to figure it out to start with, but I figured it out now. Usually you use this pin to hold the boom in the upright position. Well, there's a nice little hook right here that allows you to put this pin in to hold the boom in this tapered position. And that way I can actually pull it up right against there tight. And that's pretty close to where I need my bucket. My bucket may be a little low there, but that's pretty close to where it needs to be. This should prevent any leakage of the boom coming back up this way. So if you do that, you're not going to have as much problem with that tilting upward. But in my experience so far, that's still not perfect because the bucket itself can leak, right? It can curl itself back down. There may be a trick to that. If you know of a trick, if you can get a position just right such that it never leaks either way, that's great. But from my experience so far, it always wants to leak a little bit. But this is a big help. So use this approach on this 270B, maybe on the 370B as well. I don't exactly know how the 3E series and their backhoes connect. But use this, and then when you let the backhoe down, you'll be in a lot better situation. Got the backhoe in a funk again, and I'm going to show you another solution to resolving it, to getting it back to its desired state with the subframe on the ground. I worked with Discount Hydraulic Hose again. I've been a great partner of Tractor Time with Tim. You can go to discounthydraulichose.com/TTWT, and you can see a few kits there that we've put together to solve specific problems. This is one of them. It's actually a little more general than what I'm going to show here, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But what this is just an extension hose, a female, male coupler. This one's 5 foot long. And the purpose that we're going to use it for is to extend our power beyond. I've got one of them already hooked up, right? So this is the tank side. This is the pressure side. We'll just hook it up right here. And now, even though the tractor can't get back to the backhoe, we've got full hydraulic control of the backhoe. So we can do whatever we need to resolve the funk. So in this case, it looks like I need to push my boom down, maybe push my bucket down some. Yeah, make sure my hose is not under there. Push the boom down a little further. And I'm ready to go. So that's all there is to it. I put my extension hoses in. The backhoe is back to where it needs to be. Shouldn't have to worry about pressure here. I should be able to remove these without issue. And then I'll be able to back up right to the hoe without any worry.
Wow.
Okay? It's called the Backhoe kit or Backhoe extension kit on Discount Hydraulic Hose. But it's actually more useful than that. If you're using any rear hydraulic attachment, this is the standard coupler, by the way. Deere uses, on their Power Beyond kit, they use the standard coupler that's used for all rear SCVs for agriculture. A lot of folks get on Deere's case because they're non-standard. Well, I'm actually finding them more standard than what I find the other manufacturers that claim to be standard. Anyway, for rear attachments, this hose kit, for instance, will fit right into the regular rear SCVs. It'll fit into the Summit rear SCVs. It'll fit any attachment. So let's say you've got an attachment which doesn't have quite long enough hoses. You can just use these hoses as extensions, right? For instance, my pull type box blades, when I first got them, didn't have long enough hoses. I could have just plugged this in, right? And that would have extended them. They come in a set of 2, and they come with these nice plugs. You can just plug them together, right? But they also come with these nice plugs right here. And you can store them then however you wish. It's been something I've been wanting for years. Just a couple of hoses to have to bail me out when I get in a bind. Now these will work on any Deere with a Power Beyond or any rear SCV on any tractor. 1025R up through the 4Rs, even the 5Es. Any system that has a Power Beyond kit, that would be an open center hydraulic system. These should work fine on, and again, they'll work with any attachment because they're the regular 1/2-inch ISO, we call them Pioneer sometimes, fittings. I'm not certain that these same fittings are used on the Kubota Power Beyond kits. I don't really know. As I kind of have said, I've got a Messick Special Power Beyond on my Kubota LX3310, so they do fit. But I don't think that's the standard Power Beyond connectors or couplers used with a typical Kubota backhoe. I'm not sure on that. If you know, leave a comment. I'd like to hear that. Now, as for my rear SCVs on my LX3310, when I got them, they were 3/8 inch, I don't know, something non-compatible with anything, at least anything that I or any agriculture person would have. And we just replaced those couplers, right? We replaced them with these 1/2 inch ISO-A 5675 couplers. One more tip that we've talked about before, when you're dealing with any of these type of couplers, just keep yourself a towel, right? You've got to have a towel handy. There will be spillage, as the guys at Faster Couplings told us. It's not leakage, it's spillage. Anytime you disconnect these, there's a little bit of oil that spills out of them. That's one of the differences between these and the flat face couplers, is flat faces are designed not to have any spillage. These are designed to have spillage. So it's entirely standard. On my tractor already, with 3 hours on it, it's got oil all the way down the back of it where it is spilled. It's just not something you can keep from happening, so you OCD types need to get over it.
I hate that.
Yeah, Ken from Bolt On Hooks, that's you. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. We have shown basics of how to connect this 270B backhoe when everything's perfect. We've shown you a poor man's technique of how to get it back in a pinch, and I've shown you an easy way to get it back together. The easy way applies to any Deere backhoe. The poor man's approach might be different on different particular backhoes. I finally had enough practice and experience with this thing to be able to articulate what was going on and be able to understand. So sorry for the delay on that. It's been like 2.5 years and I hadn't got back to it, but you got it now. First episode of 2022. We may slow down our videos a little bit here during January. It's a slow time of year. We have a missions trip we're going to be going on, and we will be shooting video from that missions trip because the mission has a Johnny, and they've specifically asked us to come help. And they're already utilizing the Johnny 1025R, I would say above its capabilities, which is incredibly impressive. More on that very soon, but maybe only 1 video a week, maybe 2 if we're lucky. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age. Hello, Bullseye. You want to serve as a block for me?